Saying something about, like the little halfling needed a body more suited to the size of his brain, sort of thing. So. Then Lineally was a mouse for some time. And then gradually a mouse who could speak. Because he spoke or acted some real truth. Then a giant mouse who could speak. Now, he thinks that, with one more truth, then he can return to his real form.
Hello and welcome. This is Wild Art Fly Free, where we are all about creativity. In this video, Bunny and Turtle are building a 3D Blender model for a new character. Some time ago we were playing with an idea. What if we try not to use personal pronouns? We were thinking that saying the words, me, myself and I, make the story about yourself. But, thinking about it more, we included the concept of belief to the conversation. You could say that something is true, or instead, you could say that you believe the thing to be true. If you truly thought the thing was true, you would probably just say, the thing is true. Wouldn't you? But, when you say that you believe the thing to be true, now the thing is a belief that is about you and something you believe in. Anyway, I am not going to mention who came up with these ideas. We are just putting them out there for people to play with. And, we will give these ideas to our new character that Bunny and Turtle are building to play with. Does that make sense? Okay. Try not to be too critical. This is all in fun.
Well, Lineally seems to be coming along nicely, Bunny. And you seem to know which way is up and down, and forwards and backwards, and sideways, and the other sideways. Working with an orthographic drawing is a big help for keeping track of the 3 dimensions, isn't it?
Yes, I agree that having both a front view and a side view really does help keeping track of, well, every which way, but I did already have some understanding of how orthographic works. You do remember that I was the one who drew the orthographic design layout? And of course, for Blender up and down we use Z, and side to side is X, while front to back is Y. But, then after building a whole mouse, I can do that without thinking.
Yes, it's good practice. Later you will be able to do a more traditional 3D model. I mean, where the entire body is one big complicated shape. That's where you really understand the saying that elbows are hard. So, after we have most to the bits done, we will be able to give Lineally a skeleton, but we will call it an armature, because we are experienced Blender artists. Adding an armature is called rigging. Because our guy is made out of lots of separate objects, rigging is a little different from rigging the traditional, big, complicated, object character. It's easier, but more tedious. Lineally has a lot of bits to rig. But it will be good practice. And, you will get more practice with all the skills you learned so far. Even extruding.
Turtle, you seem pretty excited about adding the skeleton armature. But, I'm guessing that I will be the one doing the tedious bits. But, that's okay. As you say, it's a good way to learn.
Well, I guess I am a little excited, but I think that I am liking how this character is looking and I am excited to see him animated. Well, that isn't for a few more sessions, but, well, he's coming along and I am sure that we won't have any big scary problems.
Okay, Turtle. No big scary problems, but that just means that we will have lots of little scary problems, right?
Probably. I don't know what problems we are going to have, but that's just like every creative project. We are never totally sure how things are going to turn out, but if we never had problems, we wouldn't need a bunny to come and sort them out. Well, okay. I can sort out some problems myself, but somehow they are more fun when you're involved. We always get that random bit of extra chaos to add to the mix. And then you come up with some patterns that I just don't see, so thank you for your help.
Well, thank you for helping me, Turtle. And now I am getting excited about the idea of animating, but at the same time, I am getting worried about rigging. When a job gets really tedious, some people can get a little distracted and make mistakes. I hope that I'm not going to mess up. Not too many times. Even if I will be there to add chaos to the solutions. It would be wonderful if nothing scary happened.
We give our Blender model a structure to help for posing and animation. It's sort of like a skeleton. If you think of a skeleton, it is a structure made from lots of individual bones. So when our brain wants to position one of our body parts, it tells our muscles how to position the bones. Then the body parts come along with whichever bones that they are attached to. So, while a skeleton is built from lots of bones, when we want to think about an armature, we need to remember that it is built out of lots of what we call bones.
So, Turtle? Did you just say all that just to point out that an armature is just like a skeleton?
Well, if you're going to be like that then. No. I wouldn't say that an armature is just like a skeleton. I would say that an armature is a skeleton. Anyway. Let's move on. Have we ever talked about parenting?
I am sure we have, but maybe not about the skeletons of models. Do they have parents?
Well, no, armatures don't usually have parents, but, and here's the important thing. The armature bones usually are the parents. So, this rigging of a Blender model is all about control and manipulation.
Okay, Turtle. I'm listening. And, what you are saying is that the bones that are the parts of an armature, well, they will control and manipulate the other body parts.
Why yes, Bunny. That's what the bones are for. Each bone is a parent to other bits of the body. Each bone can also be the parent to other bones. You can think of each bone as a sort of handle. When you want to move an arm or a leg, then you just need to grab the proper bone for the job. Then, we get to do the sorts of things that we do while we are building the bits. There's G to move, R to rotate and S to scale. But, just remember to do that in pose mode. Um. You select the armature in object mode and then you switch to pose mode so that you can, well, pose things.
Really? I know about going from object to edit mode, but I don't remember seeing a pose mode.
Yes, that's true. Pose mode is only there if you have an armature selected. If you have something else selected, there is no pose mode.
Well, that's clever, I guess. Anyway, what you are saying is that, if we want to move or scale or rotate an object, we should select the skeleton, armature, and then go to pose mode and move or scale or rotate the bone instead. Well, that sounds a little bit more complicated. I guess that it must be worth it.
Oh, yes, um, Bunny. A couple of things are, well, when you select and rotate the thigh bone for example, well, you will have the shin bone and all the feet bones come along as well. Because, all of those other bones are children to the thigh bone, or maybe grandchildren or great-grandchildren, kind of thing. This will be a lot easier to understand when we actually start doing it.
No, I think I get it. But, couldn't we just parent each object to the other objects instead?
Well, I hadn't thought of that. I guess, maybe. But, maybe using an armature is just a sort of way of, well, like using a filing system. Anyway, I should mention that another reason to use an armature is that, each bone rotates around a specific point, that is usually where it comes from its parent bone. I think that makes it simpler than trying to set the rotation point of each object. Maybe.
No, turtle. That sounds right. It's like, when you make the objects out of balls and other shapes, well, then you can focus on shapes. Then, later, when you want to, what you called, rigging. When you want to rig the model, then you focus on the skeleton thing and the bones.
Yes. And, well, I wasn't thinking, but most Blender models are more complicated than ours. So, a whole body might be a single object. Then, each bone will control a small bit of the model object. We assign specific vertices to each bone. I think that, well, when you think about that kind of Blender model, a skeleton, I mean an armature, is the only way to pose. Otherwise, you would need to be very careful about which vertices you choose to move or rotate.
Well, okay. But now my head is going to explode. So, maybe we should leave the details for later. So, turtle. You mentioned parenting. Maybe that's an idea that we can play with without learning any new details. We each have two parents, but, each of our bones probably only have one?
Well, for now let's just say yes. Okay, each bone will have one bone parent. Except maybe what we call the root bone. That's like the great-grandparent to everyone. We use it as a sort of handle for everyone.
Owl has some ideas for this mouse guy. You know that she doesn't like the idea of animals that look and behave like humanoids. Owl says they are just people in animal costumes. But then, Owl told me about an idea. What if Lineally was actually a humanoid? Maybe a halfling man. Then he was turned into a mouse. Now he must seek out truth and live truth before he can revert back to his true form? Anyway, that is Owl's idea. And that is why Lineally looks like a human in a mouse costume. He has learned and lived some truth, but not all of it.
So Owl says that Lineally was turned into a mouse and sent on a quest to learn the truth. That would suggest that there might be something truthful in being a mouse. Or maybe not. So Lineally is seeking and speaking truth. Or at least, trying to the best that he can.
Well, we were thinking that the mouse thing was a sort of punishment. That when Lineally was a young man, halfling, then well, he was quite intelligent and maybe a bit too full of himself. So, well, he thought that he knew everything and was going around telling people that he knew the truth that would save the world and, well, stuff. And, then someone with some powerful magic got annoyed with Lineally. And, maybe the mouse thing was just a spur of the moment choice. Saying something about, like the little halfling needed a body more suited to the size of his brain, sort of thing. So, then Lineally was a mouse for some time. And then gradually a mouse who could speak. Because he spoke or acted some real truth. Then a giant mouse who could speak. Now, he thinks that, with one more truth, then he can return to his real form.
Do you think he is right? It makes you think, though, doesn't it? What is our true form? What makes us who we are? If we lose a hand or a foot, do we stop being ourselves? Do we lose a part of who we are? Well, in a sense, of course, but, I guess maybe the question is, what does it mean? Who are we?
Okay, then. Maybe, that's the point of being turned into a mouse. This might have been Lineally's chance to learn who Lineally truly is. What did Lineally keep, about himself, as a person I mean? What made Lineally be Lineally, even while he was a mouse? And what is Lineally keeping as he gradually turns back into a halfling?
So Bunny. What is Lineally's truths that he has learned and that is allowing us to turn back into a halfling? It puts a bit of pressure on us as writers, doesn't it? If Lineally has learned some truths that are so true that they can change who he is. Well, no, but anyway, we need to come up with some very clever thoughts and, words, for Lineally.
Yes. Well, Owl sort of thought of that. What Lineally will learn is that he doesn't know all that much. So, Lineally's truth is that he doesn't know the truth.
Oh. Okay. I guess that works. Maybe even sort of clever. But, how much is it going to impress our audience?
Yes. It's sort of what we are, as wild art fly free. I think that, maybe Owl is a little frustrated. As a teacher, she is more used to knowing what she is doing. So, Lineally gives us a chance to play with the idea that, when you know that what you know is that you don't know stuff. Well, it's hard to impress people with your knowledge.
Okay, well our job isn't really to know stuff anyway, is it? Except for the stuff that we make up. But, I sort of see why Owl might be frustrated. It's hard to find people who agree with what you are saying when we keep saying that we are open to any idea. Maybe people look for ideas to be part of who they are. Is that what we are playing with? The idea that our guy lineally doesn't have the right ideas to form into who he really is. Kind of.
Well, people do like leaders who are certain in their beliefs, don't they? But, people don't talk about what they know, they talk about what they believe. When you are part of a group, then the group ideas are called beliefs. Faith makes us loyal to an idea. Inclusion makes us loyal to a community.
Well, I have given that idea some thought before. It's the idea that, loyalty to ideas kills objectivity. So, if our mouse guy doesn't want to be misled by group beliefs, then Lineally will be against faith and inclusion. So fighting against your feelings can be tough. Telling other people that they can't trust their own feelings. Well this is a tough hill to stand on. Lineally will be fighting against a person's basic instincts.
But we don't fight or even ignore our instincts, do we? I mean, sometimes we might check to be sure that our feelings are not leading us astray. But, well, most of the time our feelings will be right. We just make a point to check. Does that make sense? So, then, for Lineally, trying to gain a following would be like trying to rally people to an empty flag. I mean, if Lineally were to try to build a following. And, for some reason, I just think that is what our mouse guy will be about. After all, what is the point of being right about stuff if no one else knows about it?
Okay, now that you mention it. Yes. It just seems like our mouse guy is probably meant to be a leader. Maybe it's the clothes that he is wearing. Well. How about we just sit on these ideas for a while and let them stew? We can see what Owl and other people think.
Okay. But, if we are sitting on the ideas, I don't think stew is the right word. Maybe, what's the word for what eggs do while a mom bird is sitting on them?
I don't know. Develop.
Well, I have not yet had the chance to start a family. I think that I would probably say the eggs are developing, or maybe maturing. I think that growing might even work. That's what is happening to the chick inside the egg. So who, and anywho. Yes, Turtle and Bunny, thank you. Lineally's model seems to be coming along nicely. And, you came up with some good questions about what sort of person our mouse guy might be. So who? What do you think? Some philosophers said some much stranger things than what we are saying. But, would it be better marketing to promise that we have all of the answers? If we could be more confident in our ideas. But of course, where is the fun in that? We don't want to spend our time trying to convince people about one of our ideas. We are enjoying finding new ideas and then putting a bunch of ideas into the Colosseum to see which thoughts can survive. Or, well, something like that. But, of course, we do want to build some stories. So, how about that? Are there any stories that you think we should focus on? Do you have any favorite characters that you think that we have been neglecting? Tell us in the comments. And, as always, thank you for your interest.